morning everyone and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to talk all about recanning, and I'm going to teach you today how you can recan foods and you don't need any equipment. I hope you stay tuned. Today we're going to recan foods. Everybody has so many questions about recanning and why in the world would you put yourself to all that trouble? Well, some people like to go to Costco, Sam's Club, all kinds of places where they sell food in bulk. A lot of times you can get some really good deals on large containers of food. But think about it. How long would it take me to use up this container of mustard? Well, it's so easy to recan. I'm going to share with you some of the things that you can recan. So what are some things I recan? I recan ketchup, tomatoes, I recanned all kinds of mustards, all kinds of barbecue sauce. I recan sauerkraut. Some things that you would never want to recan are vegetables, things like that, because the vegetables would get really mushy. But I do can frozen vegetables. So with recanning things for a hot water bath, you don't need any special equipment. All you need is a large kettle, large enough that you can put water over top about 2 to 3 inches of the jars. That's all it takes. Water bathing, you don't need to have special canners or special equipment. But in pressure canning, of course you do. So today, we're going to recan this mustard. Now this mustard would sit on the shelf indefinitely, but once you open it up, it can get watery after the months. In fact, I don't know how long it would take me to consume all of this, but I got a really good deal on it, and I'm going to share with you what we do with it. Alright, I'm going to put my apron on because mustard, as most people know, it really can stain, and I really don't need to have my pretty orange shirt staining. So basically all we do is we're going to take the mustard out of the big jar and put it in little jars. It's really that simple. These jars have previously been washed, and now all we do is fill up our jars. When you recan food, it doesn't have any different flavor. In fact, it tastes the same. You didn't even know that it was recanned. So I had 2 large containers of the mustard, and that gave me 24 of these jelly jars. So if you think one of these jelly jars would last, let's say, a half a month, I think it would last more like a month. Right now I have at least a year of mustard. So the next step is you want to wipe your rims. That's always really important, is to wipe our rims of anything that we can, because you want to have a clean rim around it. I really strongly suggest that you do recan if you're a beginner canner. This just helps you learn a little bit how to can food, and it's so simple, but you have to learn, and learning is the curve of growing and just realizing all the things that you can do. It's just amazing. You know, the sky is the limit with canning once you realize the fundamental facts about it. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to clean the rims off all of this. We're going to clean up this area, and then we're going to put the lids on. Now, I do not boil my lids ahead of time. There used to be the rules that you boiled your lids, but Bowl actually pretty much says you don't have to boil your lids, and I don't do that. I will wash the lids and put them directly onto the jars and not heat them first. Alright, so we're going to wash all these rims off, and I'll get to you in just a moment, and we'll put the lids on, and then I'll show you how to can it. Do you know how to boil water? It's just as simple as that. bit about lids. A lot of people have a lot of questions. I only use ball lids. Now I know you can buy cheaper ones from Walmart, but they are made in China and actually they will buckle. I've had very poor success with the cheap ones made from Walmart. Ball is known to be a good canning lid. If you're going to go to all the work to preserve your food, you want to have the very best. Ask me if I reuse my lids. It's the same answer. I don't reuse my lids for canning. I do use it for food storage. If you're going to go to all the trouble to can your food, I always use a new lid. Now, if times will get bad and I had to reuse lids, I would reuse the lids for a water bath, but not pressure canning. I would never can meat with reused lids. But Grandma Fanny, she reused her lids 2 times and sometimes even 3 times. It's just, as long as I have the finances that I can get new lids, that's something that's a priority to me. But you never know. So reusing your lids, there's nothing wrong with it, especially if you're water bathing, but really if you want to do low acid foods where you have to pressure can, I would not risk it. Alright, so we have our lids on and we have our screw bands. Now a lot of people want to know about these screw bands. Yes, you reuse these over and over and over again. The only thing you buy new is the lids. Your jars you can reuse over again. And you know what? Once you put the money into your jars, I know it's expensive, but once you put your money into your jars, it doesn't cost you anything for years to come. I have some jars from Grandma Fanny that are over 80 years old. I also had people go to yard sales. I've had people go to different sales to find jars for me, which I was really blessed. I don't need jars. I have enough of jars to last me a lifetime because whenever there was something going on, like a sale or free cycle, back years ago, I just took them jars as soon as I could find them. People are saying jars are hard to find these days, you know. It's just depending on, you know, your environment. Back in Y2K, everybody was buying up jars. Oh, they were buying it all up. And guess what? A year later, you found all these jars at the yard sale. So I'm guessing, once again, after all this goes away with our economy right now, people who bought a bunch of jars probably will end up selling them again. That is your time, my friends, to pick them up really cheap. Let me show you how we're going to can all this mustard. So this is what I have. This is actually a canner, but just pretend it is a kettle. It's a large kettle. So all you need is something that's big enough that you can put your jars in and put about 3 inches of water on top. Now this came with a rack. If you don't have a rack, you can use a tea towel or hot pads. Don't ever put your jars directly into a kettle. Set them on something that will protect them from breakage. You don't want to have them directly in the kettle. Alright, so this is what we do. We're going to put our jars into our large kettle, and then we're going to fill the water up to about 3 inches to the top. You don't have to can your mustard in jelly jars. You can use pints. I wouldn't recommend quarts, but you can use pints, but I figured I'm also make them into small enough jars that we can handle easily. Alright, so you see now I don't have enough water in, so we're going to pour the water in till it's across the top. In fact, I really don't like how this setup is. I'm going to go ahead and use a tea towel. So this rack is actually made for pints, and you know what? I can fill a lot more jars in here, and let me show you. Now I do have a jelly jar canner somewhere, but it's very small. But let me show you a little trick. Alright. So this will work perfectly. What we do is we're going to take a towel and lay it on the bottom. And now we're going to set our jars on it. So we're going to set our jars really tightly. And it will keep the cover that's down. We're going to set our jars really tightly, and it's going to keep the tea towel down flat. Now let's see how much more I can fit in here by doing it this way. Now take a look at the difference. I can fit a lot more in this way. All right, so there you go. We're just going to add just a little bit more water to it. Very good. Now what we're going to do is, when the water boils, we're going to count 20 minutes. So we put the lid on it, and once the water boils, we'll count 20 minutes. We'll take it out of the canner, and then this project is complete. Video, why don't you check out my other videos this week? There might be some that you may enjoy. See you guys tomorrow.